Life is hard. That's the universal starting point. Everyone carries unseen battles: rejection, loss, insecurity, fear. And while you may long for someone to rescue you, to validate your struggle, the harsh truth is most people are too busy surviving their own pain to carry yours. But that doesn't mean your pain doesn't matter. It means you must be the one who transforms it. Don't wait for the world to care. Channel that pain into fuel. Use it to rise, not out of bitterness, but out of purpose. Let's begin with something most people don't want to hear. The world isn't obligated to understand your pain, your dreams, or your struggle. It's not waiting for you to catch up. It's not built to validate every emotion you have. And the sooner you come to terms with that, the stronger you'll become. Not bitter, not cold, but resilient. Because the hard truth is, if you live your life waiting for the world to acknowledge you before you act, you will wait forever. We're wired psychologically to crave connection, affirmation, empathy, recognition. And those things are valuable. But if your identity depends on them, you're building a life on sand. Because when people misunderstand you, or worse, ignore you, what happens to your sense of self then? When life deals you silence instead of applause, rejection instead of support, the question isn't whether it's fair, it's what you do next. There's a dangerous illusion in modern culture that the world should adjust itself to your sensitivities, that your feelings automatically validate your position. But feelings, while deeply real, are not reliable guides for truth or progress. You can feel misunderstood and still be wrong. You can feel wounded and still have a responsibility to grow beyond it. Responsibility is the antidote to resentment. It's the shift from asking, "Why won't they help me?" to asking, "What can I do about it?" That's not cruelty, it's empowerment. Because in that shift, you take control of your own development. You stop waiting for ideal conditions, for the perfect audience, for permission. You become the initiator of your own transformation. There's a concept in psychology called internal locus of control. It refers to the belief that you, not external circumstances, determine your outcomes. People with this mindset tend to be more successful, more resilient, and less anxious. Not because they're lucky, but because they believe their choices matter, even when conditions aren't perfect. Contrast that with the external locus, the belief that your fate is in other people's hands, that you're at the mercy of the system, of fate, of whether or not others recognize your effort. That belief system is a trap. It breeds helplessness and despair. Now, of course, external conditions do matter. Some people start with more privilege, more resources, more support. Life isn't fair, but that's the starting line, not the finish. And what separates those who rise from those who stall is the refusal to let that unfairness define them. They look at their circumstances not as a ceiling, but as a challenge, a weight to lift, a reality to wrestle with. And through that struggle, they grow stronger, not just in skill, but in soul. Philosophically, this echoes the existentialist idea that life's meaning isn't handed to you. It's created through action. Viktor Frankl spoke of this when he said that man is not destroyed by suffering, but by suffering without meaning. You give your life meaning when you assume responsibility for it, regardless of the hand you were dealt. And part of that responsibility is accepting that most people simply aren't watching you. They're not obligated to notice your effort. That's not cynicism, it's freedom. Because if nobody's watching, you're free to build in silence. You're free to fail, adjust, and rebuild without needing constant reassurance. You're free to develop competence, which is far more durable than confidence. This is why I tell people, stop waiting to be understood. Focus on becoming someone worth understanding. Let your words speak. Let your character speak. Let your discipline, your consistency, your resilience, all of it become the language the world eventually recognizes. You may not control how you're seen, but you control what you build. And the irony is, once you stop chasing validation and start chasing mastery, recognition tends to follow anyway. So here's the challenge. Stop asking the world to see you. See yourself. Take ownership, not just of your success, but of your flaws, your setbacks, your limitations, and your potential. Work harder, not for attention, but for transformation. In a culture addicted to appearances and performance, acidity fades quickly. People are moved by success, not stories of why you couldn't make it. It's unfair, but it's real, and that's why personal responsibility is everything. If you want to be seen, heard, respected, you must produce value. You must become someone others have to notice, not by shouting louder, but by building something undeniable. When your work speaks for you, the world will listen. Pain is not a signal that something is wrong with you. More often than not, it's a sign that something important is happening, something necessary. Pain is the body's and the soul's way of getting your attention. And in a world that constantly tells you to avoid discomfort, to chase ease, to medicate every hint of suffering, you have to be the one to recognize the deeper message that pain is part of the process. And if you turn away from it, you also turn away from growth. We live in a culture that pathologizes struggle, that teaches you to believe that if you're hurting, something must be broken. But here's the truth. Growth is painful. It means moving beyond who you were. It means breaking down old identities, shedding layers of pride or naivety or complacency, and confronting parts of yourself that are messy, unresolved, or unworthy. That process hurts, but it's how you stretch into something more. Now, from a psychological standpoint, pain has structure. It often shows up when there's a gap between who you are and who you want to be, between what you expected and what reality delivered. And what do most people do when they hit that tension? They numb it. They distract themselves. They blame others. They wait for it to pass. But if you're serious about building a meaningful life, about achieving success that actually lasts, you can't afford to run from pain. You have to listen to it. Listen to it. You have to face it directly. Carl Jung said, "No tree, it is said, can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell." That's not just poetic, it's precise. The depth of your growth is often proportional to your willingness to descend into difficulty, to confront suffering honestly, because it's in those low points, when you feel stuck, rejected, broken, that you're handed the raw material of transformation. Pain isn't your enemy, it's your forge. It's what teaches you what you can endure. It clarifies your values. It strips away illusions. And yes, it humbles you. And wonder that humility is necessary, because the illusion of invincibility keeps people fragile. Real strength comes when you face hardship, not with arrogance, but with discipline and self-respect. When you say, "This is hard, and I'm staying in it anyway." And this idea isn't just theoretical, it plays out in everyday life. You fail an exam, you get fired, a relationship collapses, you lose someone you love. These aren't just moments of misfortune, they're crossroads. They reveal who you are and invite you to decide who you're going to become. Will you collapse under the weight, or will you rise with something new carved into your character? The philosophical depth here is worth emphasizing. Nietzsche wrote, "He who has a why to live can bear almost anyhow." When you anchor yourself to a purpose, to something larger than your immediate comfort, pain becomes endurable, even meaningful. It becomes a teacher, not just a tormentor. You start to ask, what is this pain trying to teach me, rather than how can I make it stop? And what emerges from that mindset is resilience, not the hollow kind that just looks tough, but the real kind, the kind that bends but doesn't break, the kind that keeps showing up even when nobody is watching, even when progress is invisible. That's the kind of resilience that builds lives, careers, families, legacies. But here's the thing, you won't get there by accident. You have to choose it. You have to decide, again and again, to stay in the process, to let the discomfort shape you rather than shut you down. You have to give up the fantasy that life should be easy and embrace the truth that meaning comes through hardship. So if you're in pain right now, don't rush to escape it. Sit with it, study it, let it carve something deeper into your character. Because in that fire, you're being refined, not ruined. And that brings us to the heart of it. Success isn't the absence of pain. It's the result of what you do with it. It's the wisdom you extract. Let that be your reminder. Don't just endure the pain. Engage with it. Let it build you, because nobody cares how comfortable you are. They care what you become. Nobody is coming to save you. And the moment you accept that fully, without resentment, you become powerful. This means how you reclaim control in the chaotic world. It's the daily act of proving to yourself that you are worth showing up for. It's not glamorous. It's often lonely. But it builds something inside you that no applause can give. Self-respect. And that inner foundation, that's where unshakable success begins. People often say they're waiting for motivation, waiting to feel inspired, energized, ready. And that's where most people go wrong. Motivation is fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather. It's unstable. It's emotional. And if you build your life around it, if you depend on it to act, you'll fail every time the mood shifts, every time you're tired or scared or discouraged. That's not how success is built. That's how excuses are built. What you need isn't more motivation. What you need is discipline. Discipline is the ability to do what must be done, regardless of how you feel in the moment. It is structure. It is repetition. It is responsibility chosen willingly. And it's the one trait that separates the person who dreams of a better life from the person who builds one. You don't need to feel like doing something to do it. You just need to decide that it matters more than your current mood. Well, from a psychological perspective, this speaks to the importance of delayed gratification. Studies going all the way back to the famous marshmallow experiment show that individuals who can delay short-term rewards in favor of long-term goals consistently outperform their peers in nearly every domain: academics, health, relationships, income. Why? Because they understand something simple but profound. Consistency beats intensity. You don't become great by doing the right thing once when you feel inspired. You become great by doing it 1,000 times, especially when you don't. So you write the book one page at a time. You build a business one hard day after another. You develop a strong body one disciplined workout at a time. There is no shortcut. There is only structure. Discipline is not glamorous. It's not flashy. It's waking up early when you'd rather sleep in. It's practicing your craft when no one is watching. It's turning down distractions and sticking to the plan. It's saying no to comfort in order to say yes to meaning. And that kind of life, that kind of self-mastery requires a kind of internal contract. You must decide that your word to yourself matters, that you can't afford to betray it. Now, philosophically, this connects with ancient Stoic thought. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "At dawn, when you have trouble getting out of bed, tell yourself, I have to go to work. As a human being, what do I have to complain of if I'm going to do what I was born for?" The Stoics knew that life's worth wasn't measured by ease, but by integrity, by whether or not you showed up for your responsibilities, regardless of comfort or applause. That's the paradox of discipline. At first, it feels like restriction, but over time, it becomes freedom. Because once you stop negotiating with your weaker impulses, once you replace "I'll try" with "I will," your path becomes clearer. You stop being tossed around by emotion. You stop waiting for the perfect time. And you begin to trust yourself. That trust builds momentum, and that momentum builds identity. Eventually, you don't just act disciplined, you become disciplined. You become the kind of person who keeps promises, who finishes what they start, who does hard things not because they're easy, but because they're worth doing. That's power, that's control, that's real success. But none of this happens accidentally. It requires deliberate effort, especially in a world that glorifies ease and convenience. You have to choose a higher standard. You have to be the one who says, even when it's hard, even when it's lonely, I will not quit. Because as the title of this speech reminds you, nobody cares. Nobody is coming to push you. You are responsible for your own transformation. So stop waiting to feel ready. Stop hoping motivation will strike. Build a routine, set the alarm, show up, and do it again tomorrow. Because discipline, practiced daily, becomes character. And character, real, unshakable character, is what turns ordinary people into extraordinary forces. Remember this, motivation may get you started, but only discipline will get you anywhere worth going. Let that be the standard you hold yourself to. Not because someone else expects it, but because you've decided, yes, you'll feel overwhelmed. Yes, you'll want to quit. And yes, you may look around and feel like no one understands. But your feelings are signals, not commands. They tell you something's hard, but they don't get to decide whether you keep going. Strength is learning to carry your emotions without letting them carry you. That's emotional maturity. That's what builds resilience. And in a world where softness is easy, resilience is rare and deeply needed. There's a hard truth most people spend their lives trying to avoid. Suffering is not optional. It's woven into the very fabric of human experience. Loss, failure, disappointment, betrayal. These are not rare anomalies. They're part of the structure of life. And yet, we treat suffering as if it's a mistake, as if pain means we've done something wrong. But that belief is a trap, because when you think suffering is a curse, you try to escape it. When you see it for what it really is, a source of fuel, you start to understand something deeper about strength, about growth, and about what it actually takes to live a meaningful life. Suffering reveals the truth about who you are. When everything is comfortable, you can wear a mask. You can fake strength. But in suffering, the mask cracks. And what emerges is either someone who breaks or someone who builds. Pain, if you let it, can clarify. It can cut through the noise and show you what truly matters. It can burn away illusion and bring you face to face with your limitations. That's not punishment. That's transformation. Psychologically, this is closely tied to the idea of resilience. But real resilience isn't just bouncing back. It's growing through adversity. There's a concept called anti-fragility, coined by Nassim Nicholas Taleb, that takes it even further. Fragile things break under pressure. Resilient things endure. But anti-fragile things get stronger when challenged. That's what we're aiming for. Not to survive suffering, but to be strengthened by it. And that's not just theory. Look at anyone who has achieved something meaningful, anyone who's left a real mark. Their stories are soaked in hardship, not despite it, but because of it. The athlete who trains through injury, the entrepreneur who fails 3 times for building something that lasts, the single mother who works 2 jobs and still manages to raise decent, grounded children. So these are not people untouched by suffering. They are people refined by it. Their power doesn't come from avoiding the fire. It comes from walking through it. From a philosophical angle, this mirrors what many of the great thinkers have argued for centuries. The Stoics, again, knew this well. Epictetus was born into slavery and suffered immensely, and yet he taught that suffering is not what destroys you, it's your response to suffering that defines you. Viktor Frankl, too, found this in the most unimaginable conditions of a concentration camp, that even in the depths of horror, we retain one final freedom, The ability to choose our attitude, to choose how we respond. That's the choice most people don't realize they have. They think if life is painful, it's pointless. They think if they're hurting, they've failed. But no, the opposite is true. Pain means you're alive. Pain means you're being asked to grow. And the people who thrive are the ones who say, this hurts, and I will use it. Because there is power in taking ownership of your suffering. When you stop waiting for life to be easy, you stop being fragile. When you stop expecting comfort, you stop resenting discomfort. That mindset, that grit will carry you when motivation dies and when circumstances turn against you. It will carry you when no one claps for you, when no one sees the effort, when no one says thank you. Because again, nobody cares. Work harder. It's not bitterness. It's liberation. Because once you realize no one is coming to rescue you, you're free. Free to stop playing the victim. Free to start building something real. You're not entitled to a painless life, but you are capable of a meaningful one. And that meaning will be carved, not in moments of ease, but in how you respond when everything falls apart. So the next time life presses down on you, don't ask, why me? Ask instead, what now? Let your suffering forge strength. Let it deepen your character. Let it burn away what's false so that what remains is solid, immovable, unshakable. Here's what I want you to remember. Pain is not your enemy. Avoiding pain is. Suffering is not the end, it's the beginning. If you choose to use it, because the strongest version of you isn't hiding behind comfort. He's waiting on the other side of hardship. Walk through it, not once, not just when it's easy, every time, relentlessly. That's how you rise. The most powerful response to being overlooked is mastery. Become the person who delivers results, who shows up every day, regardless of how you feel. Over time, your work will become your voice. Your voice and your progress will become your proof. But don't stop there. Real greatness isn't just about proving others wrong. It's about lifting others up, becoming the person you needed when you were struggling. That's where success becomes significance. There's a dangerous myth that's infected the modern mindset. The idea that success is fueled by motivation, that if you just stay inspired, stay hyped, stay emotionally charged, you'll somehow push through all of life's resistance and get to where you want to be. But let me be blunt, motivation is unreliable. It's fleeting. It comes and goes like the weather. If your progress depends on whether or not you feel like it today, you've already lost the game. Motivation is the spark, but discipline is the engine. It's what keeps the machine running when the spark is gone. When you're tired, when you're discouraged, when life gets heavy. Discipline is what separates the people who talk about potential from the ones who fulfill it. And that's not a romantic idea. It's not glamorous. In fact, discipline is usually boring. It's waking up early. It's showing up to train when your body aches. It's doing the hard, necessary things when no one's watching and doing them well. Psychologically, this aligns with what cognitive behavioral science has found again and again. Action breeds emotion more reliably than emotion breeds action. You don't wait to feel ready. You don't wait to feel ready. You act, and the feeling follows. The discipline to act, regardless of mood, is the keystone habit that underpins all long-term achievement. When you reorient your identity around consistent action rather than internal feelings, you take back control of your life. Philosophically, this touches on the ancient idea of virtue, particularly in the Stoic tradition. Marcus Aurelius didn't write about chasing passion or waiting for ideal conditions. He wrote about doing your duty, about showing up each day and performing your role with integrity, no matter what external chaos surrounds you. That's discipline. It's the quiet, consistent commitment to order amidst disorder. It's your internal sovereignty. There's also a moral weight to discipline that most people overlook. Discipline is not just about achieving success. It's about becoming someone trustworthy, someone whose word means something, even to themselves. When you say you're going to do something, and follow through. You're not just building habits, you're building identity. Each repetition etches a deeper groove in your character. You become the kind of person who shows up, the kind of person who doesn't fold when things get hard. This, of course, is not easy. In fact, it's a daily battle. Discipline requires self-respect, and self-respect requires sacrifice. You have to delay gratification. You have to endure discomfort. You have to say no to the easy path again and again. And while the world offers you shortcuts, dopamine hits, and distractions that feel good in the moment, discipline asks for something more honest. Long-term alignment between your actions and your values. And you won't always get it right. You'll break your word. You'll miss days. You'll fall short of your own standards. But here's the beauty. Discipline isn't perfection. It's persistence. It's returning to the path even as you wandered. That's where power lives. Not in never failing, but in refusing to stay down. Every time you recommit, you remind yourself, I am not ruled by impulse. I choose what kind of person I become. There's a reason the phrase, nobody cares, work harder, resonates so deeply because it strips away all the external excuses and forces you to look in the mirror. Are you doing what needs to be done? Not just when it's easy, not just when you're hyped, but when you're exhausted, when you're discouraged, when no one will ever notice or applaud you for it. That's when it matters. That's when it counts. Because in those quiet, thankless moments of consistency, you are building something unshakable, something no one can give you or take away from you. You are building your will. So don't chase feelings, build systems, create structure, stick to routines, measure your days by actions, not emotions. And when you fail, and you will, don't spiral, don't dramatize, just start again, reset, and go. Discipline doesn't require perfection because at the end of the day, the results will not ask how you felt. They will only ask what you did. And that's the final truth. You don't rise to the level of your dreams. You fall to the level of your discipline. So build it, one choice at a time.